Welcome and hoş geldiniz. I'm Serdar Beykan, the project convener with Elizabeth Grigg and a trustee of the Australian-Turkish Friendship Memorial Sculpture. I'm proud and privileged on the occasion of the 100th commemorative year of Anzac to welcome everyone here as friends and distinguished guests, and thank each for making time to attend this official opening of the memorial, a community project which has taken 4.5 years to make. I pay respect to the elders of the Kulin Nation, both past and present, and extend respect to other Aboriginals who are here. I welcome our speakers very warmly, the Premier of Victoria, Daniel Andrews, Senator Concetta Fierravanti-Wells, representing Senator Michael Ronaldson, the Federal Minister for Veterans Affairs, John Eren, Victorian Minister for Veterans, Ambassador Reha Keskintepe, Republic of Turkey, Robert Doyle, Lord Mayor of Melbourne, Major General David McLaughlin, President of the Victorian RSL, Ramazan Altintash, President of the Turkish sub-branch of the Victorian RSL, and Elizabeth Grigg, Project Co-Convener and Principal of Texture Architects. I welcome the attendance of all state parliamentarians and especially those with a Turkish heritage in Minister Adem Somyurek and Natalie Süleyman, the first woman to enter our parliament with a Turkish heritage. All federal parliamentarians, Stephen Blair, New Zealand Consul General, and Mehmet Küçüksakallı, Republic of Turkey Consul General, Diplomatic Corps representatives, City of Melbourne officers and councillors, Australia's Armed Forces, Victoria Police, business organisations, trade unions, academic community, and all communities and representatives, citizens. As MC for these proceedings, I respectfully request you make silent your mobile phones and from our speakers to keep to their allotted times. Thank you. We are here today for a story that began nearly 100 years ago, where the people of Australia and Turkey first met in a horrific, intense, modern, amphibious and trench war where so many young lives from all sides were brutally lost. As a Victorian and Australian with a Turkish heritage and a practicing architect, I understand the power and design of symbols in the story of nations. In working with Elizabeth Grigg, whose grandfather was at Gallipoli, the irrepressible energy of Ramazan Altintash, and the tireless support of Major General David McLaughlin, this powerful symbol for the continuing bond of respect and friendship, uniquely forged on the battlefields of Gallipoli, has been placed in the heart of our beautiful city of Melbourne. Today there are over 40,000, including third and fourth generation Australians with a Turkish heritage, in all walks of life, who are making a significant contribution to Victoria. This project will further connect these young Victorians to our collective history. Of the $598,000 project budget, I sincerely thank the following for contributing funding to this project. $230,000 from the Victorian Government, $100,000 from the Australian Government, $100,000 from the Turkish Government, a total of $31,500 from 3 federal electorates from the Centenary Grants Program, Calvin Thompson MP, Maria Van Vicuna MP, and Michael Danby MP, whose electorate we are in, and who are all here today. Thank you. The balance of funding came from Texture Architects, community fundraising, and in-kind support from companies and individuals, whose names will be listed on the memorial website. Thank you very much to all. Whilst it's difficult to single out any one person or organisation for special mention, I would like to do so by thanking the RSL and Major General David McLaughlin for his vision, his kindness, generosity and guidance over the last 4.5 years in our endeavour to achieve this important symbol for Victoria and Australia, and to Sir Angus Houston as the former Anzac Commemoration Committee Chairperson, who together with us saw at the very start the importance of supporting this symbol of friendship for Australia's future, and to Ted Bayou as Victorian Anzac Chair for his great support. Siz, her zaman sağ olun. May you always be healthy, happy and strong. Victoria has many firsts and has led Australia on many ideas and issues for the betterment of all Australians. This symbol of friendship is another first by Victoria in adding to our nation's history with this beautiful piece of art for Melbourne in friendship between Australia and Turkey. Sizler, Sizler, hepiniz sağ olun. May you all be healthy, happy and strong. Thank you. I now introduce Mr. Ramazan Altuntaş to say a few words.
Sayın Türkiye Cumhuriyeti Canberra Elçim, Türkiye Cumhuriyeti Melbourne Başkonsolosu, Victoria Başbakanımız, sayın yüksek değerli misafirlerimiz, bay ve bayanlar, bugün buraya John'larımız ve Mehmetçiklerimizin anısına yapılan dostluk anıtına hepiniz hoş geldiniz. Sizlerin de bildiğiniz gibi 100 sene evveli Avustralya dedelerimizle Türkiye dedelerimiz orada hayatlarını kaybettiler. Sizler için, bizler için. Birbirine saygılılardı. Aynı zamanda birbirine su verip, ekmeği alıp çikolata veriyorlardı. Madem onlar sizler için, bizler için hayatını kaybettiler, bizler de bugün burada sizlerin sayesinizle, sizlerle beraber bu dostluk anıtını buraya başlattık. Bu anıtının yardım eden, maddi ve manevi yönden siz kahraman Türk milletine, Avusturya dostlarımıza ve Sayın Serdar Bey'e, hanımı Elizabeth Hanım'a çok teşekkür ederim. Kendileri hakikaten gerek şirketiyle gerek kendileriyle çok büyük bir çaba harcadılar. Bu eser hepimizin eseridir. Artık ben fazla bir şey konuşmayacağım. Çünkü konuşmacı yeteri kadar vardır. Bazı konuşmalarım İngilizce'de bahsedilecektir. Sizlere bu Mehmetçiğimizin, John'larımızın anına yapılan anıt hayırlı uğurlu olsun dostlarım.
Dear the honourable guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be speaking on behalf of my father, Ramazan Altuntaş. I would like to thank you all for attending this special occasion, the opening ceremony of the Australian-Turkish Friendship Memorial Sculpture. It gives me great honour and pride to be here today, considering that 100 years ago, the Johnnies and Mehmets fought at Gallipoli, so that we may enjoy the freedom and harmony that we do. It is for this reason, above all, that the Australian-Turkish Friendship Memorial Sculpture embodies the friendship, the enduring peace that our two countries value so highly. It will become a timeless place to mark the memory of our fallen. In playing such a major role in this timeless memorial sculpture, I would like to thank the following: the Australian Federal, the Turkish and Victorian Government, the City Melbourne Lord Mayor and Councillors, the Premier of Victoria, the Ambassador and Consul General of Turkey and Australia, Victorian RSL, the Victorian Anzac Centenary Committee, the Shrine of Remembrance, Serdar Baycan and Elizabeth Greek, the Tektura Architects, and all organisations and individuals who provided financial support as well as assisting with aspects of this project, but most importantly, the Australian and Turkish community for their ongoing support. May the Australian-Turkish Friendship Memorial Sculpture become a significant landmark for us all, and the spirit of the Johnnies and Mehmets live on forever. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. It's a great day, and after a long and complex process, it's a pleasure to present this beautiful and poetic expression of the Australian and Turkish story of friendship. When we first spoke to the Turkish-Australian community and others about what the memorial should represent, we settled on several themes. The first was to educate by building knowledge of the Turkish as well as Australian perspective of the Gallipoli campaign for future generations of young Australians. We wanted a memorial for all Australian and Turkish soldiers. We wanted to commemorate the respect, camaraderie and friendship displayed by Anzac and Turkish soldiers, and noting that Mustafa Kemal Ataturk provided the first public expression of words of friendship towards the Anzacs and their families. It was important that we develop a place of reflection, one that pays respect to the Australian and Turkish soldiers and it includes references to Gallipoli. And finally, we wanted to celebrate the cultural connection between Australia and Turkey. We invited 4 artists, 3 from Australia and 1 from Turkey, to submit design proposals based on the brief we developed with community consultation. All 4 proposals were great. However, Matthew's response was outstanding. We could not imagine a more perfect response than the seeds of friendship that you see here today. This memorial creates a place for all Australians, and in particular for Turkish Australians who come to experience our important shared history. The reef honours the fallen. The pine cone and casuarina represent the Mehmets and Johnnies lying side by side at the Gallipoli Peninsula, and the strands of text on the ground plane are like fallen pine needles. They represent the many voices, soldiers, commanders, mothers, fathers, poets and observers, all of them so sadly affected by the Gallipoli campaign and First World War. Matthew, the memorial is a beautiful piece of art. It's been a pleasure to work with you, and we thank you very much for realising our vision.
Matthew, if you could just come and say a few words, please.
Thank you, everybody. I tried to wash my hands this morning, so that's all right. I've had much sleep of late, as my colleagues. We've worked around the clock for this. But I'm most humbled to be asked to do such an important memorial. This memorial was made from the hearts and minds of many. I must thank in particular Serta and Elizabeth, who have shown extraordinary vision, drive and passion in their 5-year journey to bring this memorial to fruition. I thank them for giving me this opportunity, for being chosen to make this work. It was an honour, and it has been a pleasure to work with them on the project. Many hands have contributed to making the Australian Turkish Memorial. I deeply thank the dedicated hand and hard-working people who have helped me and worked often around the clock to achieve this goal. Particularly my right-hand man, Paul Daffy, with whom nothing would get done, and Sam Bloomfield, a greatly skilled metalsmith who's helped with the welding, and Benjamin Storch, who's helped with the complexity of building such a structure in terms of CAD design, and all of these people, and Amond, and many others have sort of worked tirelessly to be here and assist. Thank you again, Serta and Elizabeth, for this amazing opportunity. It has been a privilege and an honour to make the Australian Turkish Friendship Memorial, and an honour and a highlight of my career. And I hope you're happy with it.
And now we welcome Mr. John Eren, Victorian Minister for Veterans, who also obviously has a Turkish heritage. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present. I'll be introducing the Premier, obviously, to open this very special monument, but before I do, I know there are so many dignitaries here that needs to be mentioned, but I do want to single out, and I'm sure that others will mention them, but I do want to single out Serdar Baycan and Ramazan Altıntaş, who has been instrumental. Without their assistance, obviously this monument would not be here today, so really thank you very much for all your efforts to both of you. I'm of course delighted to be here today to introduce the Premier of Victoria, the Honourable Daniel Andrews, who will officially open the Australian Turkish Friendship Memorial, the Seeds of Friendship. As the Minister for Veterans, I'm particularly proud to be here today. My journey is in many ways a reflection of the friendship Australia and Turkey share. As a child, my parents would tell me stories about my grandfather, about the town he came from and where he is buried today. These stories are passed down through generations and never forgotten. My grandfather fought for the Turkish forces commanded by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk at Gallipoli. Like everyone on that peninsula, he was there serving his country. We know now duty led thousands of combatants from all over the world to their deaths. It is these people and the many people from all over the world who have served and sacrificed in years since that we will remember on Anzac Day in 2 weeks' time. The friendship, affection and respect Australia and Turkey share is a legacy of World War I. For Victorians, today should be particularly a significant day. Our state is home to more Turkish migrants than any other. In 2011, around half of Australia's entire Turkish-born population lived in Victoria. There are more than, and some dispute this to be less or more, but roughly around 200,000 people of Turkish origin living in Victoria. So it is fitting that this memorial, commemorating the friendship between the people of Australia and the people of Turkey, is right here in Victoria. Today, we rightly commemorate those we lost at war, but we should also take the opportunity to celebrate and give thanks to the deep ties of the friendship that exists between our two nations. Without further ado, the Premier.
Thank you very much, John Aaron, for those very moving words about your story and the story of so many other proud Turkish Australians who call Melbourne and Victoria home. Can I begin my brief remarks by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and pay my respects to their elders past and present. To His Excellency Ambassador Keshkin Tepe, to Major General David McLaughlin, to Ramazan Altantash and other representatives of both the Shrine and the RSL, to the Lord Mayor Robert Doyle, to Senator the Honourable Conchetta Fierravanti-Wells, to former Premier and someone who's done such an outstanding job in the organisation of the commemoration of this Anzac centenary, Ted Baillieu, and the many other distinguished guests that are here, too many to mention. But to each of you, we can't imagine Victoria without the contribution of the Turkish community over such a long period of time. Whether it be in our universities, in our factories, on our soccer pitches, in so many different ways. The Turkish contribution has been one of hard work, a focus on family, a focus on faith, a focus on making Victoria fairer and stronger and more outward looking. And as we look to this amazing piece of public art, this sculpture, this symbol of togetherness, of a bond that cannot be broken, it's hard to imagine this beautiful precinct without this piece of art that we're here to open today. This is a sacred space. This is such an important part of our city and our state's history and our contemporary story. Because as we approach the centenary, it's important to commemorate and to remember solemnly all of those who lost their lives, all of those on both sides of a bloody and, to an extent, a pointless conflict. It's important to honour and acknowledge those who made that ultimate sacrifice, but it's also a time to respectfully celebrate the freedom and the liberty, the type of Australia, the type of Melbourne and Victoria that we live in today. And I can't think of any more fitting acknowledgement and thank you to all of those involved in this piece of art, this piece of, if you like, remembrance, very tangible remembrance. I can't think of a better way of acknowledging them than to say that we simply can't think of our state without the contribution of the Turkish community. To Serta, to Elizabeth, to all of those who've been involved in making what was the hope of many and indeed a dream for some into a reality that we will all be able to enjoy, from our smaller school children to those who were born here, those who have made Melbourne and Victoria and Australia their home, to those of Turkish origin, to anyone visiting this incredibly important precinct. I say on behalf of all Victorians, thank you and congratulations. This is such a significant symbol of the bond between our two nations, our shared story, our shared pain in many respects, but ultimately our shared hope for a future of freedom, of liberty, of the values that we hold dear.
I now invite Ambassador Reha Keskintepe. I now invite Senator Conchetta Fierravanti-Wells to speak, representing Senator Michael Ronaldson, Federal Minister for Veterans Affairs.
Can I also add my acknowledgement of country? Can I acknowledge the Premier, my Shadow Minister for Veterans Affairs, David Feeney, President of the Victorian Upper House, Shadow Ministers Damien Drum, Inga Pulic, Georgie Crozier, Lord Mayor, former Premier Ted Baillieu, Turkish Ambassador, Consuls General, many, many distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. As Parliamentary Secretary responsible for Multicultural Affairs and Settlement Services, it's my very great pleasure to be here on behalf of the Minister for Veterans Affairs and Minister assisting the Prime Minister for the Centenary of Anzac, Senator the Honourable Michael Ronaldson, for the opening of the Australian-Turkish Friendship Memorial Seeds of Friendship. Senator Ronaldson regrets that a long-standing engagement prevents him from being here in person. However, he looks forward to travelling to Turkey next week to mark the 100th anniversary of the landing of Anzac forces at Gallipoli on 25 April 1915. As the 100th anniversary of the Gallipoli campaign fast approaches, it is appropriate to turn our minds to the origins of the strong bonds that bring us together. The battles at Gallipoli have a special place in the history of relations between Australia and Turkey. Mutually respectful and friendly ties, born uniquely out of fiercely fought military campaign, have continued to develop to this day. While the Turkish forces were victorious over the Allies at Gallipoli, victory came at a terrible cost, with some 80,000 Turks killed in the campaign. As the Minister has said on past occasions, the men who fought against each other on the Gallipoli Peninsula 100 years ago did not do so out of hatred. They answered their nation's call and did what they were ordered to do. After all, it was after the Third Battle of Krithia in May 1915 when an unofficial truce was declared between our warring nations so that the dead could be afforded the proper burial they deserved. This friendship in the midst of battle underscores our two nations' relationship today. The Gallipoli Peninsula was a place where extraordinary deeds of bravery were performed on both sides. Today, Australian and Turks stand beside each other in friendship, and this beautiful sculpture serves to remind us of our unique connection. This year there will be 10,000 Australians and New Zealanders travelling to Turkey to commemorate the service and sacrifice of those who are no longer with us. We are grateful for the Turkish support in respecting our dead and for welcoming us in our annual pilgrimages to honour them. During the centenary of Anzac 2014 to 18, we mark a century of service and sacrifice encompassing all wars, conflicts and peace operations in which Australia has been involved. The centenary is the most significant period of commemoration in our nation's history, and as such the Australian Government is pleased to be supporting a number of commemorative educational and cultural initiatives through the Anzac Centenary National Program. I'm especially pleased that we have been able to provide more than $130,000 to support the creation of this sculpture through both the Anzac Centenary Local Grants Program and through the major commemorative grants category of the Saluting Their Service Commemorative Grants Program. An enduring legacy of the Anzac Centenary National Program will be an increased awareness and understanding of our wartime history, especially for our younger generations. The Seeds of Friendship sculpture echoes our intention by being a catalyst for education with a focus on the present and the future while acknowledging the past. Gallipoli serves a symbol of how the shared experience of battle can bring former enemies together in the quest for a better and more peaceful world. Thank you.
I now call upon Ambassador Reha Keskintepe, Republic of Turkey.
The Honourable Daniel Andrews, Premier of Victoria, and may I thank you, sir, for pronouncing my last name in perfect Turkish. Senator the Honourable Concetta Fierravanti Wells, representing the Australian Government, the Honourable Minister John Eren, the Honourable Minister Adem Somyurek, the Right Honourable Robert Doyle, Lord Mayor of Melbourne, the Honourable Ted Baillieu, former Premier of Victoria and Chair of Victoria Anzac Centenary Committee, Major General David McLaughlin, State President of RSL, Shadow Minister, esteemed members of the Parliament, distinguished members of the Turkish-Australian Friendship Memorial Trust, Mr. Serdar Baycan, Mr. Ramazan Altıntaş, and forgive me if I have not mentioned your name, because I have many friends assembled here in Melbourne. I would like to say welcome to all of you. İyi günler, hoş geldiniz efendim. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to be here at the unveiling ceremony of the Turkish-Australian Friendship Memorial, Seeds of Friendship, at King's Domain, a very special place in the heart of Melbourne. As the representative of Turkey and Australia, I am honored to witness the realization of this memorial on the centenary of the Çanakkale battles, where the seeds of friendship between our two nations were sown 100 years ago in the battlefields of Gallipoli by Turkish and Anzac soldiers. At the outset, I would like to pay tribute to those fallen heroes for their great sacrifice at Çanakkale and Gallipoli. Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, the founder of the Turkish Republic, who was also the commander of the Turkish forces at Gallipoli, laid the foundation of this special bond by sending the comforting message to Anzac mothers in 1934. His poignant message of peace and reconciliation will resonate in our minds and hearts forever. Today, we are proud that Turks and Australians developed a sense of deep respect, close and friendly relations, regardless of those fierce battles. Australia, home to around 150,000 Turkish Australians, and Turkey share common values and ideals. We have close cooperation in addressing international issues of mutual concern. Both nations are working together to further enhance this cooperation in every field. Turkish Australians are an integral part of this society and contribute in many ways to its progress. Distinguished guests, this year is particularly important for Turkey and Australia due to the centenary of the Çanakkale battles. In order to commemorate this historic event, ceremonies and exhibitions are being held, new books and films are released, and other social and cultural gatherings have been organized in both countries. Thousands of Australians will travel to Turkey to attend the commemorative ceremonies to be held on 25 April. In this context, the Friendship Monument is a very timely initiative reflecting the historical bond and unique relations between the two countries. This monument will be very special for future generations as a place for reflection and understanding, not only about the sacrifices of their forefathers, but also the reconciliation, mutual respect, and genuine friendship born between Turkey and Australia. Thus, I believe it is a great contribution to the multicultural fabric of Melbourne as well. The Friendship Monument project is also truly symbolic as it emphasizes the strong ownership and appreciation of Turkish-Australian friendship. I am very glad to note that the project has been generously funded by the Turkish government, the Australian federal government, and the state government of Victoria, as well as by the Victorian Return Services League, MPs, and many Turkish-Australian associations and private individuals. The Melbourne City Council and Lord Mayor Mr. Doyle has extended strong support for the project by allocating this exceptional venue. On this occasion, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to the federal and state governments, the Melbourne City Council, and sponsors for their invaluable contributions in strengthening Turkish-Australian friendship by supporting this project. I would also like to commend Mr. Matthew Harding for his marvelous artwork by crafting the resolute bond between Turkey and Australia. I extend my sincere thanks to the members of the Friendship Memorial Trust for their dedicated and tireless efforts. Without their dedication and hard work, this monument could not have been erected. Last but not least, I would also like to thank the Honorable Premier and all the dignitaries and guests for their participation at this memorable and historic event. Long live Australian-Turkish friendship. Thank you very much.
I now welcome Major General David McLaughlin for the commemorative service.
Premier, Ambassador, Senator, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On this magnificent afternoon, on this new memorial site here in Melbourne, I think it's appropriate in our commemorative service that we recognise, in the words of Ataturk, the Mehmets and the Johnnies. And I would ask all to stand for this ceremony. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
Guard, attend, charge! Slope, arms! Guard, general salute, present, arms! Slope, arms!
Lest we forget. Please be seated.
We're going to now have the Turkish poem Çanakkale Türküsü. Australia's national anthem. Thank you. Could I now invite the Lord Mayor, Robert Doyle, to the stand, please.
I also acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we're here today, the members of the Great Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and thank their elders for the work that they do throughout our community as we gather here today. Could I also acknowledge our Premier, Daniel Andrews, our former Premier, Ted Value, Senator Fiorenty-Wells, many members of state and federal parliament, ministers and shadow ministers, Your Excellency, a pleasure to see you as always, and dear friends. I'm delighted on behalf of the City of Melbourne to accept this unbelievably special gift. Can I tell you, when Serdar and his team first came to my office about 4 years ago and explained this concept, I thought to myself, this is a wonderful idea and it will never happen. Not for the first or the last time in my political career was I completely and utterly wrong, because I had not counted on the remarkable determination and perseverance of the memorial team, and also of the wider Turkish community, and your pride in the concept and the reality of this memorial. And for that, I thank you for being so unutterably wrong about you being able to make it happen. The only other thing I want to say before I accept this is this wonderful thing about our city. In our city, we come from 230 different nations. We speak over 200 different languages and dialects. We practice 105 different faiths, and yet we are one Melbourne. And that is quite remarkable. And Seeds of Friendship, I think, is the highest expression of that one Melbourne, the joining of the Turkish and the Australian communities. We are so deeply proud to be the custodians of Seeds of Friendship, and thank you to the whole Turkish community.
Lord Mayor, we respectfully and lovingly hand over the Australian-Turkish Friendship Memorial sculpture, Seeds of Friendship, in trust to you and the City of Melbourne forever. Thank you very much. we're nearly there. I now call upon Major General David McLaughlin to say a few words. President of the Victorian RSL and a great person. Thank you.
Be sure about that. Premier, Ambassador, Senators, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests one and all. It befalls to me now to say a few words of thank you, and His Excellency the Ambassador for Turkey this afternoon has done it all for me. He was really superb. But I'd like to just go back 4.5 years when Ramazan came forward with this idea, and he had all the persistence of Ataturk, there's no doubt about that. And he went and saw Serdan Beykan and Elizabeth Grigg and offered this suggestion that the Turkish community work within the community to present this magnificent memorial that we see here today. And it was through his persistence and the incredible work that Serda and Elizabeth did with the Turkish community to get us to where we are today. We have heard the allocations of funds from the Victorian government, the Australian government and the Turkish government, which I must say was very much facilitated by our Consul General here in Victoria, Kuchu Sakal. And we're absolutely delighted with the way in which you got behind the project to be able to help us. There are many people that have been involved in bringing it together, and I was absolutely surprised on Sunday when I came by and had a look, and there were still stones to go into the surface, the even surface, and I understand that Mr. Harding and his team worked all night today to bring it to conclusion. So we salute you for the work that you've done, for the contribution that you have made to the City of Melbourne. And we particularly would like to thank the City of Melbourne and the Honourable Lord Mayor for the site that you have allocated us in King's Domain for this magnificent memorial and for undertaking to be its protector from here on in. Thank you, Lord Mayor. To all that have brought together today together, thank you from the caterers, from the musicians, from Corporal John Mansfield, the Shrine Guard. We are indebted to you on this beautiful afternoon in Melbourne, and long may this memorial shine. Thank you.
Thank you. This soon will conclude with the cutting of the ribbon and placing poppies and carnations on the wreath. I'd like to say to you in Turkish, Avustralya ve Türkiye'nin edebi dostluğuna katkıda bulunduğunuz için sizlere çok teşekkür ederim. Thank you very much for your support in the enduring friendship between Australia and Turkey and for making the time to come out today. Thank you very much. I now invite all the guests, the Premier and Ministers, the Lord Mayor to come and cut the ribbon with us.